Good morning. Not quite sure. I think it's live. So, good morning, Scrappy Grandma, Lanita here. This is our Torah Portion Bible study, and we are in week 6. And it's been such a beautiful journey. Oh my gosh. So, I'm starting a little early today because I have to run down to town, our big town, Fresno, and go to the doctor and pick up some things and go shopping and do the thing. When you live far away from town, when you go to town, you do a lot. So kind of on a time crunch. So I wanted to get this done before I left this morning. So Father God, thank you so much. Father, thank you for the beautiful life that you've given us. Thank you for the opportunity to read your word freely and to be able to share it. Thank you for the eyes to see how you have opened our eyes to be able to comprehend and understand your living word. Bless everyone who listens to this recording today, Father, and open our eyes to your truths through your living word. Help us to feast on your word all week long. In Yahushua's mighty name. Amen. All right, so like I said, we're in week 6. It's called Toldot. It means family history. And it starts in Genesis 25:19 through 28:9. And then the Brit Hadashah, the Haftorah, which is the prophets and the prophets and the books of wisdom. It's 1 Samuel 20:18 through 42 and Malachi 1 through 2:7. And then Luke, for the Brit Hadashah, the New Testament, Luke 3:1 through 22, Romans 9:10 through 16, and Hebrews 12:14 through 17. I will do my best to get this all read, but I want to keep it at an hour. So if we're running short, I'll cut it short. So let's begin. I'm going to begin with a bit of commentary. So help us kind of set the stage of what we're going to be reading. Oh, sorry, adjust things here. Okay, so Toldot. Last week's Parsha, Chai Sarah, related how the faithful servant Eliezer helped find a bride for Isaac from among Abraham's relatives living back in Mesopotamia. In response to his earnest prayer to Yahuwah, Eliezer was shown that Abraham's nephew's daughter, Rebekah, was to be the one of the 4 great matriarchs of Israel. Ooh. This week's Parsha is about Isaac and Rebekah's family and how the promised seed would descend through Isaac's son, Jacob, rather than through his older brother, Esau. It begins... These are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham fathered Isaac, Genesis 25:19. Isaac and Rebekah had been married for 20 years, but were still without heir to carry on the family line. Talk about repeating how, Abraham and Sarah were unable to have children. And now Isaac and Rebekah are unable to have children. And finally, their prayers were answered, and Rebekah conceived, though not without complications, when she inquired of the Lord about her travail. This is so fascinating. He told her that she was carrying twins that would be heads of 2 rival nations, but the younger child would in fact become the promised heir to the chosen people. So the father told her that Jacob would be the promised, the one to carry on the seed of the chosen people. The day came for Rebekah to give birth, and the first child came out red and covered with hair. So they called him Esau, meaning hairy. Then his brother came out with his hand grasping Esau's heel. So they named him Jacob, supplanter, from the Hebrew root word meaning heel. Since Isaac was 60 years old when the twins were born, Genesis 25:26, and he had married Rebekah at the age 40, we know that they had waited 20 years for the birth of their descendants. Esau grew up to be a skillful hunter, a man of the field, while Jacob was a quiet man, dwelling in tents. Isaac favored Esau. And I was listening to a commentary yesterday about it, and basically it said that Isaac, he had an appetite for meat, meaning he had an appetite, maybe an addiction, or something that he put over other things. He had an appetite for meat, and that's possibly why he favored Esau, because Esau was a hunter and he would bring home meat. So Isaac favored Esau, but Rebekah, believing the promise of YHWH, favored Jacob. We have to ask why Isaac did not believe the message given to Rebekah regarding the twins, but that's another matter. The Parsha then gives us a look at the spiritual life of the two boys. According to Jewish tradition, on the day of the funeral of their grandfather Abraham, Jacob was cooking lentil soup for Isaac, the traditional mourner's meal. Esau rushed in from a hunting expedition, exhausted and hungry. He then begged Jacob to give him some of that red stuff, but Jacob answered that he would give him some only if he would sell him his birthright. Esau, profane as he was in thinking and concerned only with his immediate satisfaction, agreed to the terms and discounted his birthright as being worth only a plate of beans. On account of this incident, Esau was given the additional name of Edom, meaning red. And some Jewish commentators claim that he had become the head of Rome through his interpretations seems unlikely. Nevertheless, Esau spurned the birthright. Actually, in the commentary yesterday, he became Rome and Palestine, I think, his descendants. Next, we read how Isaac followed in the footsteps of his father Abraham. A famine occurred in the land of Canaan, and Isaac and Rebekah moved to the town of Gerar under the jurisdiction of Abimelech, of the Philistines. Now, remember Abimelech last week with Abraham. Abimelech, I guess, is more of a title, and so it's probably his son, not the same Abimelech. Perhaps with the intent of going all the way to Egypt, and then YHWH then told them not to go, but to remain in the promised land, where he would bless him and make his descendants number as the stars in the heaven. Isaac obeyed, but presented Rebekah as his sister, as Abraham had done with Sarah, out of fear that someone coveting her beauty would kill him. However, like Abraham, Isaac's ruse was exposed, and Abimelech chided him for his duplicity. Isaac and his family then settled in a town of Gerar and became so wealthy and powerful that the Philistines began to envy him. Abimelech finally asked him to resettle elsewhere, so Isaac moved to a nearby valley. After a series of contentions with the Gerarites regarding water rights, he finally found room to settle down. Later, Isaac relocated to Beersheba, where YHWH appeared to him and renewed the covenant of Abraham with him. There he built an altar and offered sacrifices to YHWH. Abimelech then sent a delegation to make terms of peace. This section ends with the news of Esau at the age of 40 marrying two Hittite women, Yehudit and Basmat, respectively, described as being a source of bitterness to Isaac and Rebekah. The story jumps ahead to when Isaac had grown old and was nearly blind. Thinking that his end was near, he wanted to bless Esau as the family heir before he died. It seemed that Isaac wasn't the best family communicator, since doubtlessly Rebekah had long believed Jacob to be the appointed heir, and Jacob had earlier obtained the rights of the firstborn by means of the agreement he had made with Esau. Nonetheless, Isaac instructed Esau to go off to hunt for his food, after which he would then give him a formal blessing as the head of the promised line. Rebekah overheard the plan and sprang into action. She instructed, I love that this dug into it a little bit more, because whenever I would read this, I thought that she was just being horribly rebellious against her husband. And now I'm understanding that she actually was following the instructions of YHWH, whereas Isaac wasn't. So she was actually being faithful to the father. So she instructed Jacob to prepare a similar dish, dress in Esau's clothes, cover his arms and necks with a goatskin costume to simulate the smell and feel of his more hirsute brother. Then he would pass himself off as Esau and thereby foist the blessing from his father. Everything went according to Rebekah's scheme, and Jacob received Isaac's blessing, even if under such deceptive circumstances. To Jacob would be the dew of the heaven and the fat of the land and the mastery over his brother. However, scarcely after having given the blessing of the firstborn to Jacob, Esau returns from the hunt with a meal for his father. The deception was then made plain, but Isaac refused to revoke the blessing he had given to Jacob. All that was left for inconsolable Esau was the promise that though he would serve his brother Jacob, eventually he would break this yoke from his neck. At this point, Esau began plotting to murder his brother for his deception. Upon learning of Esau's homicidal intentions, Rebekah instructed Jacob to get ready to flee to Haran. Remember where Haran is. Haran is back where Abraham came from. So ready to flee to Haran to stay with his brother Laban. Remember, Laban is his wife, Rebekah's brother, until Esau cooled off. She then told Isaac that she wanted Jacob to marry a woman from the old country and not one from the Hittite women of Canaan. To his credit, Isaac listened to his wife and told Jacob to go to Haran and find a wife from among his cousins living there. The Parsha ends with the account of Esau's marriage to a third wife named Mahalath, daughter of Ishmael, in a pathetic attempt to finally gain his parents' approval. All right, so let's begin. Genesis 25:19. And this is the genealogy of Yatsig, Isaac, his Hebrew name, Yatsig, Abraham's son. Abraham brought forth Yatsig, and Yatsig was 40 years old when he took Rebekah, as wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean of Paddan-Aram, the Aramean of Paddan-Aram, the sister of Laban, the Aramean. And Yitzhak prayed to Yahuwah for his wife because she was barren. He interceded for his wife. How beautiful is that? And Yahuwah answered his prayer, and Rebekah, his wife, conceived. And within her, the children struggled together. And so she said, if all is right, why am I this way? So she went to ask Yahuwah, and Yahuwah said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples shall be separated from your body. And 1 people shall be stronger than the other, and the other serve the younger. And when the days were fulfilled, so it's interesting. The father told Rebekah about her children. I'm sorry. We're in the same story. Duh. The father told Rebekah. And it's interesting because it doesn't say anywhere in here that he told Jacob. He told Rebekah. So, and Yahuwah said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples shall be separated from your body. And 1 people shall be stronger than the other, and the older serve the younger. And when the days were fulfilled for her to give birth, and see, twins were in her womb. And the first came out red all over like a hairy garment. So they called his name Esau. And afterward, his brother came out with the hand holding onto Esau's heel. So his name was called Jacob. And Yitzhak was 60 years old when she bore them. And the boys grew up, and Esau became a man knowing how to hunt, and a man of the field, while Jacob was a complete man. Interesting. A complete man dwelling in tents. Complete man. I'm going to put a big question mark there and go research that. And Yitzhak loved Esau because he ate of his Yitzhak loved Esau because he ate of his wild game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. So that's where it shows that he was more interested in his carnal appetite than he was of what Yahuwah had planned. It sounds like. And Jacob cooked a stew, and Esau came in from the field, and he was weary. And Esau said to Jacob, please feed me with that same red stew, for I am weary. That is why his name is called Edom. So he becomes the Edomites. But Jacob said, sell me your birthright today. And Esau said, look, I am going to die, so why should I have a birthright? And then Jacob said, swear to me today. And he swore to him, and he sold his birthright to Jacob. And Jacob then gave Esau bread and stew of lentils, and he ate and he drank, and he rose and he left. Thus Esau despised his birthright. 26. And there was a scarcity of food in the land, besides the first scarcity of food, which was in the days of Abraham. And Yatzig went to Abimelech, sovereign of the Philistines, in Gerar. And Yahuwah appeared to him and said, do not go down to Mitzrayim, to Egypt. Live in the land which I command you. Sojourn in this land, and I shall be with you and bless you, for I give you all of these lands. I give all of these lands to you and your seed, and I shall establish the oath which I swore to Abraham your father. And I shall increase your seed like the stars of the heavens, and I shall give all these lands to your seed, and in your seed all the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because Abraham obeyed my voice and guarded my charge, my commandments, my laws, and my tarot. Right there, because Abraham followed his instructions. And Yatzig dwelt in Gerar. And when the men of the place asked about his wife, he said, she is my sister, for he was afraid to say, she is my wife. So she was his cousin, kind of like Sarah was Abraham's niece. But so, for he was afraid to say, she is my wife, thinking lest the men of the place should kill me for Rebekah, because she is good looking. And it came to be, when he had been there a long time, that Abimelech, sovereign of the Philistines, looked through a window, and he watched and saw Yatzig playing with Rebekah, his wife. And Abimelech called Yatzig and said, see, truly she is your wife. So how could you say she is my sister? And Yatzig said to him, because I said, lest I die on account of her. And Abimelech said, what is this you have done to us? One of the people had almost lain with your wife, and you would have brought guilt on us. And Abimelech, it's interesting here how much they respected the sanctity of marriage. And Abimelech commanded all of his people, saying, he who touches this man or his wife shall certainly be put to death. And Yatzig sowed in that land and reaped in the same year 100-fold, and Yahuwah blessed him. And the men grew great and went forward until he became very great. Oh, and the man grew great and went forward until he became very great. And he came to have possessions of flocks and possessions of herds and a great body of servants. And the Philistines envied him. And the Philistines, had stopped up all the wells which his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham his father, and filled them with dirt. And Abimelech said to Yatzig, go away from us, for you are much mightier than we. So Yatzig went from there and pitched a tent in the wadi, Gerar, and dwelt there. And Yatzig dug again the wells of water which they had dug in the days of Abraham his father, for the Philistines had stopped them up after the death of Abraham. And he called them by the names which his father had called them. But when Yatzig's servants dug in the wadi and found a well running water, living water, there the herdsmen of Gerar strove with Yatzig's herdsmen, saying, the water is ours. And he called the name of the well Eseg, because they strove with him. And they dug another well, and they strove over that one too. And he called that name Sitnah. And he moved from there and dug, I want to look that word up, Sitnah, Sitnah, S-I-T-N-A-H. And he moved from there and dug another well, and they did not strive over it. And he called it Rehoboth, and said, for now Yahuwah has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. And from there he went up to Beersheba, and Yahuwah appeared to him the same night and said, I am Elohim of your father Abraham, and do not fear, for I am with you, and shall bless you and increase your seed for my servant Abraham's sake. And he built a slaughter place there and called on the name of Yahuwah, and he pitched his tent there, and the servants of Yatzig dug a well there. And Abimelech came to him from Gerar, and Ahuzath one of his friends of Pikol, the commander of his army. And Yatsig said to them, why have you come to me, seeing you have hated me and have sent me away from you? But they said, we have clearly seen that Yahuwah is with you. And we said, please let there be an oath between us, between you and us, and let us make a covenant with you, that you do no evil to us, and as we have not touched you, and as we have done only good towards you, and have sent you away in peace. And you are now blessed by Yahuwah. And he made them a feast, and they ate and drank. And they rose early in the morning and swore an oath with one another. And Yatsig let them go, and they departed from him in peace. And on the same day it came to be that the servants of Yatsig came and informed him about the well which they had dug, and said to him, we have found water. So he called it Sheba. Therefore, the name of the city is Beersheba to this day. And when Esau was 40 years old, he took as wives Yehudith, the daughter of Beri the Hittite, and Basmath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. And they were bitterness of the spirits to Yatsig and Rebekah, because he went outside the family. He married the Hittite women. 27. And it came to be when Yatsig was old, and his eyes were too dim to see, that he called Esau, his elder son, and said to him, my son. And he answered, here I am. Here I am. And he said, see now, I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now then, please take your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the field and hunt wild game for me, and make me a tasty dish, such as I love, and bring it to me to eat, in order that my being does bless you before I die. And Rebekah heard that Yatsig spoke to Esau his son, and Esau went to the field to hunt wild game and to bring it. And Rebekah heard when Esau, there we go. And Rebekah spoke to Jacob, her son, saying, see, I heard your father speak to Esau, your brother, saying, bring me wild game and make me a tasty dish to eat, and bless you in the presence of Yahuwah before my death. And now, my son, listen to my voice. According to what I commanded you, please go to the flock and bring me 2 choice goats, and I make a tasty dish from them for your father, such as he loves. And you shall take it to your father, and he shall eat it, so that he might bless you before his death. And Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, see, Esau, my brother, is a hairy man, and I am a smooth-skinned man. What if my father touches me? Then I shall be like a deceiver in his eyes, and shall bring a curse on myself and not a blessing. But his mother said to me, let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice and go get them for me. And he went and he fetched them and brought them to his mother, and his mother made a tasty dish, such as his father loved. And Rebekah took the best garments of her elder son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her younger son, interesting, which were with him in the house. And she put the skins of the young goats on his hands and the smooth part of his neck. And she gave the tasty dish and the bread which she had prepared into the hands of her son Jacob. And he went to his father and said, my father. And he said, here I am. Who are you, my son? And Jacob said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you have said. Please rise, sit and eat my wild game, so that your being might bless me. But Yatsig said to her son, how is it you have found it so quickly, my son? And he said, because Yahuwah, your Elohim, brought it to me. Man, talk about a blatant lie. Whew, I guess maybe he did. And he brought him the goats, and I don't know. Then Yatsig said to Jacob, please come near, so that I feel you, my son, whether you truly are my son Esau or not. And Jacob went near, and Yatsig to Yatsig, his father, and he felt him and said, the voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy like his brother's Esau's hands, and he blessed him. Something in the commentary yesterday that was really interesting is, if you remember, the patriarchs, they lived long lives and they were healthy unto death. Whereas Yatsig, Isaac, he was blind. And it sounds like he was spiritually blind as well, because he favored Esau, even though Yahuwah had made it clear that, that Jacob would be heir to the seed, to the promised seed. So he was not only physically blind, but he was spiritually blind. So anyway, and he did not recognize him, for his hands were hairy like his brother's Esau, and Esau's hands, and he blessed him. And he said, "Are you truly my son Esau?" And he said, "I am." Blatant lies. And he said, "Bring it near to me and let me eat of my son's wild game, so that my being might bless you." So he brought it near to him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father YHWH said to him, "Please come near and kiss me, my son." And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his garments, and blessed him, and said, "See, the smell of my son is like the smell of the field, which YHWH has blessed. And Elohim give you the dew of the heavens, and the fatness of the earth, and plenty of grain and wine. Let people serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be master over your brother, and let your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be those cursing you, and blessed be those blessing you." And it came to be, as soon as YHWH had finished blessing Jacob, and Jacob had hardly left the presence of YHWH his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. And he too had made a tasty dish, and brought it to his father, and said to his father, "Let my father rise and eat of his son's wild game, so that your being might bless me." And his father YHWH said to him, "Who are you?" And he said, "I am your son, your firstborn, Esau." Then YHWH trembled exceedingly and said, "Who was it then who hunted wild game and brought it to me? And I ate all of it before you came, and I have blessed him. Yes, he is blessed." When Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with an exceedingly great and bitter cry, and said to him, "Bless me too, O father." And he said, "Your brother came with deceit and took your blessing." So there's different kinds of, so there's a birthright, and then there's the blessing. There's, so I don't remember it enough to be able to share it, but they are two different things, the birthright and the father's blessing on the firstborn. And Esau said, "Was his name then called Jacob? For he caught me by the heel these 2 times. He took my birthright, and see, now he has taken my blessing." And he said, "Have you not reserved a blessing for me?" Then YHWH answered and said to Esau, "See, I have made him your master, and all his brothers I give him as servants, and I have sustained him with grain and wine. And what then shall I do for you, my son?" And Esau said to his father, "Have you only one blessing, my father? Bless me too, O my father." And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And YHWH his father answered and said to him, "See, your dwelling is of the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of the heavens from above. And by your sword you are to live, and serve your brother. And it shall be, when you grow restless, that you shall break his yoke from your neck." And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, "The days of mourning for my father draw near. Then I'm going to kill my brother Jacob." And the words of Esau, her older son, were reported to Rebekah, and she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said to him, "See, your brother Esau comforts himself concerning you to kill you. And now, my son, listen to my voice, and rise and flee to my brother Laban in Haran, and stay with him a few days, until your brother's wrath turns away." A few days. It ends up being a lot more than a few days. "Until your brother's displeasure turns away from you, and he forgets what you have done to him. And I shall send and bring you from there. Why should I be bereaved of both of you in one day?" And Rebekah said to YHWH, "I am disgusted by my life because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob takes a wife from the daughters of Heth, like those who are the daughters of the land, what is my life to me?" 28. And YHWH called Jacob and blessed him, and commanded him and said to him, "Do not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Paddan-Aram, to the house of Bethuel, my mother's father, and take a wife for yourself, and there from the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. And El Shaddai bless you, and make you fruitful, and increase you, and you shall become an assembly of peoples, and give you the blessing of Abraham to you and your seed with you, and that you will inherit the land of your sojournings, which Elohim gave to Abraham." So YHWH sent Jacob away, and he went to Paddan-Aram, to Laban, son of Bethuel the Aramean. the brother of Rebekah, the mother of Jacob and Esau. And Esau saw him away, and Esau sent him away to Paddan-Aram. I'm sorry. And Esau saw that YHWH had blessed Jacob and sent him away to Paddan-Aram to take himself a wife from there, and that as he blessed him to give him command, saying, do not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. And that Jacob had obeyed his father and his mother and had gone to Paddan-Aram. So Esau saw that the daughters of Canaan did not please his father YHWH, and Esau went to Ishmael and took Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Naboth, to be his wife, besides the wife he had. So Esau was just profane. He not only took 3 wives instead of just one, he took all pagan wives from the pagan nations. So, all right, that is that. Next is 1 Samuel 20, 18 through 42. 18 through 42. So Yohanan said to him, tomorrow is the new moon, and you shall be missed because of your seat shall be empty. And on the 3rd day, go down quickly, and you shall come to the place where you hid on the day of the deed, and shall remain by the stone Etzel. And let me shoot 3 arrows to the side of it as though shooting at a target. And see, I shall send the youth, saying, go find the arrows. If I expressly say to the youth, okay, this is when David was running from Saul, and Jonathan, Saul's son, was arranging it with David to let him know whether he was safe or not. And let me shoot 3 arrows to the side as if though shooting at a target. And see, I shall send the youth, saying, go find the arrows. If I expressly say to the youth, look, the arrows are on this side of you, get them and come, then as Yahuwah lives, there is safety for you and no concern. But if I say thus to the youth, look, the arrows are beyond you, go your way, for Yahuwah has sent you away. And as for the word which you and I have spoken of, see, Yahuwah is between you and me forever. And Dawid hid in the field, and when the new moon came, the sovereign sat down by the food to eat. Because the new moon celebration, this is something what we've been doing, new moon calls in our women's fellowship. I think this will be like the 4th new moon. And so it's really interesting that they would celebrate and feast on the new moon. And so this is what they're doing here. The sovereign sat down to eat the food, and the sovereign sat on a seat, as other times, on the seat by the wall, with Yohanan standing and Abner sitting by Shaul's side. But the place of David was empty. But Shaul spoke not a word, and that day, for he thought, it is an accident. He is not clean, for he has not been cleansed. So, he may have touched a dead, a carcass or something, and he wasn't clean, so he couldn't participate. And it came to be the next day, the 2nd day of the new moon, and the new moon celebrated over 2 days because the sighting of the sliver, and this I'm just starting to understand. And so, but there's a new moon of the no moon, the dark day, and then there's the new moon of the sliver, which is the new moon for the month, which is the 1st day of the month, every month. And David's place was empty, and Shaul said to Yohanan, his son, why has the son of Yashi not come to eat, either yesterday or today? And Yohanan answered Shaul, David earnestly asked my permission to go to Bethlehem. And he said, please let me go, for our clan has a slaughtering in the city, and my brother has commanded me to be there. And now, if I have found favor in your eyes, please let me get away and see my brothers. That is why he has not come to the sovereign's table. Then the displeasure of Shaul burned against Yohanan, and he said to him, you son of a perverse, rebellious woman. Ooh, what a curse. Do I not know that you have chosen the son of Yashi to be your own shame and to the shame of your mother's nakedness? Wow, big question mark there. What the heck does that mean? For as long as the son of Yashi lives on the earth, you shall not be established, you and your reign. Okay, meaning if David's here, you'll never become king. And now send and bring him to me, for he is a son of death. And Johanna answered Shaul his father and said to him, Why should he be put to death? What has he done? At that Shaul hurled a spear at him to smite him. Then Johanna knew that his father had resolved to put David to death. And Jonathan rose up from the table in the heat of displeasure and ate no food the second day of the new moon, for he was grieved for David because of his father put him to shame. And it came to be in the morning that Jonathan went out into the field at the time appointed with David, and a small youth was with him. And he said to the youth, Now run and find the arrows which I shoot. As the youth ran, he shot the arrows beyond him. And when the youth came to the place where the arrows was with Jonathan had shot, Jonathan called out after the youth and said, Is not the arrow beyond you? And Jonathan shouted after the youth, Make haste, hurry. Do not stand still. Where am I supposed to read to on this? 42. All the way. And Jonathan's youth picked up the arrows and came to his master, but the youth knew not a speck. Only Jonathan and David knew the matter. Then Jonathan gave his weapons to the youth and said, Go take them to the city. And as soon as the youth had gone, David rose up from the south side and fell on his face to the ground and bowed down 3 times. And they kissed one another, and they wept together, and David more so. And Jonathan said to David, Go in peace, since we have both sworn in the name of YHWH, saying, YHWH is between you and me, and between your seed and my seed forever. Then he rose and left Jonathan and went into the city. Next is Malachi 1:1 through 2:7. I have it organized this week. Okay. The message of the word of YHWH to Israel by Malachi. Okay, so this is a prophetic word to Israel. I have loved you, said YHWH, but you asked, In what way have you loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, declares YHWH, and I love Jacob? But I have hated Esau and have laid waste his mountains and his inheritance for the jackals of the wilderness. If Edom says, We have been beaten down, let us return and build the ruins. YHWH of hosts said thus, Let them build, but I tear down. And they shall be called border of wrongness. Wow. And the people against whom YHWH is enraged forever. So Edom is cursed of YHWH, Esau's descendants. And your eyes shall see, and you shall say, Great is YHWH beyond the border of Israel. The son esteems his father, and a servant his master. And if I am the father, where is my esteem? And if I am the master, where is my fear? Said YHWH of hosts to you priests who despise my name. But you ask, In what way have we despised your name? You are presenting defiled food on my slaughter place. But you ask, In what way have I defiled you? Because you say the table of YHWH is despicable. And when you present the blind as a slaughtering, is it not evil? So it sounds like they were slaughtering. Oh no, it's 9:00. Oh well, the mic should cancel out. My vacuum just started. Sorry. It sounds like, so he's prophesying, and it sounds like that the priests were presenting not perfect sacrifices on the altar. So, and when you present the blind as a slaughtering, is it not evil? And when you present the lame and sick, is it not evil? Bring it then to your governor. Would he be pleased with you? Would he accept you favorably? Said YHWH of hosts. And now entreat the face of El to show favor to us. This has been done by your hands. Would he show favor to you? Said YHWH of hosts. Who among you, who would shut the doors so that you would not kindle fire on my slaughter place for naught? I have no pleasure in you, said YHWH of hosts, nor do I accept the offering from your hands. For from the rising of the sun even to its going down, my name is great among nations. And in every place incense is presented in my name, and a clean offering, for my name is great among nations, said YHWH of hosts. But you are profaning me in that you say the table of YHWH is defiled, and its food is despicable. And you said, Oh, what weariness, and you sneered at it. And YHWH of hosts said YHWH of hosts, and you brought in plunder, the lame and the sick. Thus you have brought in the offering. Should I accept this from your hand, said YHWH? But cursed be the deceiver who has a male in his flock and makes a vow that is slaughtering to Yahuwah what is blemished. For I am a great sovereign, said Yahuwah of hosts, and my name is feared among nations. Hold on, I've got to go turn that off. Okay. I couldn't think. I couldn't think with that noise. I've got the freeze dryer going, the vacuum. It's like way too much noise going on in my head. So, and now, O priest, this command is for you. If you do not hear, and if you do not take it to heart to give esteem to my name, said Yahuwah of hosts, I shall send a curse upon you, and I shall curse your blessings. And indeed, I have cursed them because you do not take it to heart. See, I shall rebuke your seed and scatter dung before your faces, the dung of your festivals, and you shall be taken away with it. And you shall know that I have sent this command to you as being my covenant with Levi, said Yahuwah of hosts, Levi. My covenant with him was life and peace, and I give them to him to fear, and he feared me and stood in awe of my name. The Torah of truth was in his mouth, and unrighteousness was not found on his lips. He walked with me in peace and straightness, and turned many away from crookedness. For the lips of the priest should guard knowledge, and they seek the Torah from his mouth, for he is a messenger of Yahuwah of hosts. Okay. Now, Luke 3, 1 through 22. Luke 3, 1 through 22. And in the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar, when Pontius Pilate was governor of Yehuda, and Herodias district ruler of Galilee, and his brother Philip district ruler of Yetur, and the country of Trichontis, and Louisiana district ruler of Abilene, Hanan and Jaffa being high priest, the word of Elohim came to Yohanan, the son of Zechariah, in the wilderness. This is John the Baptist. And he went into all the neighborhoods of the Jordan, proclaiming an immersion of repentance for the forgiveness of sins, as it had been written in the book of the words of Joshua, the prophet, saying, a voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of Yahuwah, make his path straight. Man, that's how I feel right now. It's like time is getting so short. It's like, oh, my deepest desire is for people to start reading his word and turning back to him with all their heart, mind, body, soul, and strength. Pray that with me for people. Every valley shall be filled, and every mountain and hill shall be made low, and the crooked shall become straight, and the rough become smooth, and all flesh shall see the deliverance of Elohim. He said, therefore, to the crowds that came out to be immersed by him, brood of adders, who warned you to flee from the wrath to come? Therefore, bear fruit worthy of repentance, and do not begin to say to yourselves, we have Abraham as our father. For I say to you that Elohim is able to raise up children to Abraham from these stones. And even now the axe is laid to the root of the trees. Therefore, every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Man, this is something we really need to pay attention to. We need to be bearing good fruit, because everything that's not of him is going to be burned up. And the crowds asked him, saying, what then shall we do? And he answered, saying to them, let him who has 2 undergarments share with him who has none, and let him who has food do likewise. So be generous, be kind. This is kind of like last week's, hospitality, generosity, kindness. The tax collector also came to be immersed, and he said to them, teacher, what shall we do? And he said to them, collect no more than what is appointed to you. So the tax collectors had a really bad habit of taking extra money and stealing it. And the soldiers also asked him, saying, what shall we do? And he said to them, do not intimidate anyone or accuse falsely, and be satisfied with your pay. But as the people were in expectation and all were reasoning in their hearts about Yohanan, whether he was the Messiah or not, Yohanan answered, saying to them all, I indeed immerse you in water, but one mightier than I is coming, those whose sandal I am unworthy to loose. He shall immerse you in the set-apart spirit and fire. And boy, those of us that have been walking this walk, we understand being baptized in the spirit and in fire, because that's the fire that sanctifies us. That's the fire that purifies us. That's the fire that burns away everything that's not of him. And it's a beautiful, painful, wonderful, horrific fire. His winnowing fork is in his hand, and he shall thoroughly cleanse his threshing floor and gather the wheat into his storehouse. But the chaff shall be burned with unquenchable fire. And urging with many other words, he brought the good news to the people. And Herodes, the district ruler, being convinced by his concerning Herodias, his brother, Philip's wife, and for all the wicked deeds which Herodias did, added this also to them, and he locked Yohanan in prison. And it came to be, so Herod was with his brother's wife, I think, and John had something to say about it, and so he got locked up in prison. And it came to be, when all the people were immersed, Yeshua also being immersed and praying, Jesus also being immersed and praying, the heaven was opened, and the set-apart spirit, wait a second, and Philip's wife, for all wicked deeds which Herodias did, add this also to them, he locked Yohanan in prison. Okay, but before Yohanan was locked up in prison, and it came to be, when all the peoples were immersed, Yeshua also being immersed and praying, the heaven was opened, and the set-apart spirit descended on in bodily form like a dove upon him, and a voice came from heaven saying, you are my son, the beloved, in you I did delight. Okay, and then Romans 9, and we're doing it in record time. Woohoo! Romans 9, 10 through 16. And not only so, but Rebekah, having conceived by one, our father Yatsig, yet before they were born and had done any good or evil, in order that the purpose of Elohim according to the choice might stand, not of works, but him who calls, it was said, the greater shall serve the lesser. And it has been written, Jacob I have loved, but Esau I have hated. What then shall we say? Is there unrighteousness with Elohim? Let it not be. For he says to Moshe, I shall favor whomever I favor, and I shall have compassion on whoever I have compassion. So then it is not of him who is wishing, nor of him who is running, but of Elohim who shows favor. And then Hebrews 12, 14 through 17. There's 14. Pursue peace. This is one of my favorite sayings, or just my favorite. When people are struggling and wondering, what do I do? What should we do? Pursue peace. Pursue peace. If it's causing strife and agitation, step away. But pursue peace with all, and pursue apartness without which no one shall see the master. Being set apart. See to it that no one falls short of the favor of Elohim, that no root of bitterness springing up causes trouble, by which many become defiled, lest there be anyone who whores or profanes one like Esau, who for a single meal sold his birthright. For you know that afterward, when he wished to inherit the blessing, he was rejected, for he found no place for repentance, though he sought it with tears. For you have not drawn near to a mountain touched and scorched with fire, and to blackness and darkness and storm, and a sound of a trumpet and a voice of words, so that those who heard it begged that no further word should be spoken to them. How sad and tragic is that the Israelites did not want to hear. Did not want to hear from Yahuwah himself. They wanted a mediator. They wanted Moses to be in between them. For they could not bear what was commanded. Even if a beast touches the mountain, it shall be stoned or shot through with an arrow. And so fearsome was the sight that Moshe said, I exceedingly fear and tremble. But you have drawn near to Mount Zion and to the city of the living Elohim, to the heavenly Jerusalem, to myriads of messengers, to the entire gathering and assembly of the firstborn, having been enrolled in heaven. Wait a minute. This is Romans. This is Hebrews 12, 14 through 17. Oh, I already passed it. There we go, 17. So for know that afterwards, when he wished to inherit the blessing, he was rejected, for he was found no place for repentance, though he sought it with tears. End right there. So, all right. Sorry if it seemed a little rushed. It did to me. And unfortunately, that's because I do have to got to go finish up, jump in the car, and drive to town. So, Father God, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for everyone that listens to this. Bless them, Father. Open our eyes. Remove anything that would hinder us from understanding your word. Help us to feast on it through the week. Shine light on what it is you'd like us to see, and teach us from your living word. In Yahushua's holy name. Amen. Be blessed. Have a fabulous week. Dig into the word. If you're interested in any of the commentaries that I watch or that I read, let me know in the comments and I will send you links. If you're interested in joining our women's Bible study, let me know and I can send you the link there as well so that you can join us. So be blessed. Have a fabulous week and I will see you next Monday.